But it was my opinion that karate had a bigger hold on the community than it does down here. And I think it's because down here, there's so many other options for you.
Welcome to another edition of the DOJO Show. It is me, your host, Sensei Marv, here with another exciting week for you. This week, we have a special guest here, Sensei Brian Bulow of the Shorin-Ryu Traditional Karate Do.
Show is being brought to you by Bushikin Karate St. Cyr Dojo. We are a full contact school located in the heart of Raleigh, North Carolina. We proudly serve families ages 3 to adult. Our free to try program offers a 1-week no obligation trial to see if our program is a good fit. Whether you want to learn a martial art or just get in shape, we have something for everyone. For more information about our program, visit us at bushikin.com. Bushikin Karate, pursuing the true meaning of the way.
Hey, Sensei Brian, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Sensei Brian, if you don't mind, I'm going to read a little bit about you, just so that everybody can familiarize themselves with who you are. Sensei Brian began his study of martial arts in 1994 and was awarded his first Dan, or first degree black belt, in Tang Soo Do in 1999. In the year 2000, he began training in Shorin-Ryu under the direction of Kiyoshi Eberhard G. Welch, who was a Hachidan. Since training with Kiyoshi Welch, he's been promoted to black belt and is currently holding the rank of Godan, 5th degree black belt, in Karate Do, and Sandan, 3rd degree black belt, in Kobudo, which is weapons. He is a member of one of the largest Shorin-Ryu associations in the world, Shorin-Kan, which is located in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate.
Yes.
And he continues to train with Kiyoshi Welch's senior students and participates in their camps and workshops held around the country. He has traveled to Okinawa to train under the supervision of the head of Shorin-Kan Association and teaches the Kobayashi system. The Shorin-Ryu Karate Club of Raleigh was established in 2008 to bring quality traditional Okinawan Karate Do and Kobudo to the Triangle area. Students of all ages are welcome, from children to adults, and his program guides students to achieve their martial arts goal, whether competing on local, regional, or national level, developing self-defense techniques, improving physical fitness, and or obtaining higher belt ranks. So welcome, Sensei Brian, to the DOJO Show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Sensei, thank you so much for agreeing to come and speak with me today. I know you're a very, very busy man, so I appreciate you just taking some time to come out and just chop it up with me. To begin with this, Sensei, I wanted you to just kind of speak to us a little bit about your karate origins.
Sure. Where I am today was the result of training with 3 instructors over the last 30 years. I started off with Grandmaster William Phillips in Washington, D.C., teaching Tang Soo Do Mudokwan. Mr. Phillips was a first-generation student of Kiwon Kim. Anyone who is familiar with Korean karate, be it Tang Soo Do or Taekwondo, knows of Kiwon Kim. I stayed with him for about 4 years and transitioned to one of his sister schools under the direction of then Master Diane Jones. She's now Grandmaster Diane P. Jones, and that's who awarded me my first degree black belt. And then, as Marv, you said already, in 2000, I decided to pick up a second style, which is Shorin-Ryu, and started studying under the direction of Kiyoshi Eberhard Welch, Hachidan, 8th degree black belt, and I've been in that system ever since. I think it's important to note that all 3 of my instructors made me the martial artist that I am today. They all gave me something that is still with me today, and I'm very appreciative to all 3 of them. In particular, more so Miss Jones, Grandmaster Jones, and Kiyoshi Welch.
I had an opportunity to meet Master Welch, which was awesome. So I thank you for that opportunity. I remember when you brought him here to Raleigh, North Carolina, and that was quite the experience. Rest in peace, Grandmaster Welch. So your style of karate is what style?
Okay, the style I practice now is called Shorin-Ryu karate.
Shorin-Ryu.
Excuse me, one of the original styles of karate that were born in Okinawa. And at some point, when karate was introduced to Japan, mainland Japan, Shorin-Ryu was one of the styles that was introduced. And primarily, if you look at styles like Shotokan, you will see a lot of Shorin-Ryu in Shotokan. And just to add one thing else, which is sort of interesting to me, the Japanese taught the Koreans their karate, which was Shotokan, and out of that, one of the styles that came out of that was Tang Soo Do. So I can trace my Tang Soo Do lineage all the way to my Shorin-Ryu present day journey.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
I think so.
To think that they're all so closely related, and it's funny because I like to practice with other people, and it's always interesting to see how there's commonality amongst all of these different styles, right? So like, I have a Kyokushin base, right? Like that's where we're rooted from. But you look at some of the Hyons or the Pinons and all the introductory katas, there's a lot of similarity to them. And so you see that, and I just think it's interesting. Even when you get to some of the more advanced katas, I'm sure you've seen some of my katas, and you're like, well, we have a version of that or a variation of that, and it's unilateral across the board. Where we'll go to tournaments, and I don't do a lot of non knockdown tournaments, but there are instances where we've gone, and you'll see a Kanku Dai or some of these other katas, and there's a lot of similarity in there. So it's just incredible to see that even amongst the differences, there are some similarities. Now, let me ask: are you able to speak to any of kind of the subtle differences between some of the different arts, or even maybe amongst Shorin-Ryu practitioners or other martial arts practitioners?
Sure. And having that connection between Tang Soo Do all the way to Shorin-Ryu makes that a little easier. Because Tang Soo Do was so related to Shotokan and derivative of Japanese karate, I had deep stances starting out. Okay, very deep stances. And Shorin-Ryu doesn't. So that piqued my interest. And I was told it wasn't just Shorin-Ryu, it's a lot of the Okinawan-based systems. Their stances aren't as deep as the Japanese-based systems, and subsequently the Koreans and some of the other styles. And the reason being, from what I have been able to find out, is in mainland Japan, the emphasis was on training, and the deep stances help to train your muscles, your leg muscles, thigh muscles, and etc. And that's what was the purpose of those deep stances. Obviously, if you're in combat, you're not going to be in a deep, forward stance or a deep catch stance. You're going to be more upright where you can get around. The Okinawans, as I've been told, they believe in training and conditioning in other ways and making your stances more upright to practice fluidity in movement. So that's basically just a philosophy. And one, they both are going to be upright when the rubber hits the road. Everybody's standing up.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
We want to stay standing up. We don't want to go down.
But
right. Yeah. So, and I definitely feel like there's some validity to that, right? Like I know in my style, when we train, we do a lot of deeper stances, but like you said, that is more conditioning, right? Because when we're fighting, it's a lot shorter. The motions are, the blocks are, everything is a lot shorter and a lot more abbreviated. So I do think there is a component of muscle memory, just kind of getting your body into the proper mechanics and putting it into certain positions. Sensei Brian, you are here in North Carolina with us, and that's where your school is located, right?
Yes, sir.
But you are not a native North Carolinian.
That's not true.
What? Oh, you are a native North Carolinian.
I'm a native North Carolinian. Okay.
Okay.
I was born in Thomasville, North Carolina, March 31st, 1950.
Years old.
Damn. I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Yeah,
oh man.
I'm
That's
old.
Okay. Well, we're not gonna say you old, but you're a little what would we say? Seasoned.
Yeah.
Well seasoned.
Yes, sir.
Like my wife's chicken sandwich.
Man, don't bring those up. I don't want your audience to see the bad side of me, man. Don't. I've been waiting for one of those for like 3 years.
Oh boy, it's coming. We got you. So okay, so you are a native of North Carolina. However, your training is not necessarily native of North Carolina. Like your training experiences and your kind of where you came up was in a different area, right? You were in the DC area.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes. I spent all my summers down here as a child. I was born here, but spent all my summers down here. But I was raised in the Washington, D.C. area. And that's where the bulk of my martial arts experience, training, tournaments, participations, all that took place in the Washington, D.C. area. We used to compete from Virginia, basically up to Atlantic City. Yeah, from Hampton to Atlantic City primarily was where I would compete. That was the area.
And so what was the training experience like in the Metro DC area?
I thought it was pretty good. Now we're talking about when I was really doing my tournaments and stuff. We're talking 20 plus years ago. But it was my opinion that karate had a bigger hold on the community than it does down here. And I think it's because down here there's so many other options for youth and options that are on like select teams, select soccer teams and baseball teams and football teams. There's a lot of that going on. So it's really competitive to get students down here to commit long term. Whereas my travels in the Washington, D.C. area, you had your football players and your basketball players, your baseball players, but that was pretty much it. And so there were a lot of full dojos, and we used to compete every weekend from, let's say, February up until late October, November. There was a tournament practically every weekend. So my son and I would compete 2 to 3 times a month. Down here, a couple times a year. Matter of fact, the only tournament I've been going to is yours, to be honest.
Well, I thank you for coming to our tournament and supporting. You've definitely been a supporter now for how many years have I been doing it? About 5 years.
However long you haven't missed one.
You've been to every one, so
even the
thank
one
you so
on my
much
birthday, I was there.
We did that one specially for you.
Yes. Yes, sir. No cake, but it was special.
You spoke about specializations and how that's kind of impacted students, your student enrollment, student participation in general, like here in North Carolina. Let me ask, has that really been a major issue, a major problem for the development of a martial arts program here in North Carolina? And like, how often are you seeing that?
Yes, I do. I think it's been a major issue for me, and a challenge that like I didn't see my instructors in the DC area have to face, at least not at the level that I've had to face it. I've had some kids that I felt were capable of becoming excellent martial artists, but they were also skilled in another sport, and either timing or something else that I'm not in control of, they had to pick one or the other. Their parents wouldn't allow them to do both. And, you can do multiple sports. I know you've had them in your dojo. There's your daughter that dances and does karate. My son played football and did karate. So you can do it, but a lot of people want their kids to specialize. And also, I find a lot of parents want their kids to test stuff out. Take this for 6 months or 6 weeks, 3 months, and then move on to swimming. And then let's try golf, instead of getting something and staying with it long enough to become proficient at it.
I guess we could see the benefits in both, right? Like there's a benefit to really exploring and finding out something that you like and are passionate about. But also I think there's that importance of being committed to something, starting something and seeing it through, making sure that, you see something through. That was a big thing for my son and my daughter. I told my son, and I think we've had this conversation where I told my son, you have to train until you get your black belt. And, there were times when he wanted to quit and didn't want to do it. And I'm like, nope, we're going to see this through to the end. And I do feel like that is important. But on the flip side, I've also had some kids in my program that have been on the national scene in terms of making the national football team and going to playoffs or national gymnastics or whatever have you. So, you know, it is an ongoing problem, which I don't know how we resolve that, right? As martial artists, as people that we see the potential and the talent as well as the benefits that some of our students can reap as a result of engaging in this type of program, you know, but I guess such is life. That's the struggle of a martial arts teacher. We have our students that we treat like our kids, spend a lot of time molding, and we end up losing them to another sport.
Yeah, I remember when I first started teaching, every student that quit, I took it personally. It's like something I did wrong. You know, where am I lacking? What am I lacking? And, you know, and it really bothered me for a while until I realized, well, wait a minute, my instructors lost students. And you know, things went on, and they got new students, and things went on.
And it's hard, especially when you see the potential in a student, right? You see so much potential. There's so many students that come in that are naturally gifted, but you know, it's a commitment, and it's something that the parents have to be committed to as well as the student have to be committed to. So it is a challenge, I think, for all of us martial arts instructors. One thing that I did want to ask you, which is not kind of what I had planned, but I'm kind of veering off the path here. How do you feel your experience as a martial arts practitioner has differed from that of an instructor?
Great question. As a practitioner, someone who gets out in my time, did a fair share of competing, I learned camaraderie. I learned sportsmanship. I had sportsmanship, you know, as a kid from playing other sports. And then also I learned what the judges were looking for as we competed. So, and what makes a good stance, what makes a good execution of a block or a kick or whatnot. So then when I come to teach, I can take that knowledge and infuse it into the way my students are learning a new kata or preparing for a tournament or whatnot. I can give them additional insight. I think it's important that we don't just give kids a list or students a list of movements and say, do these from A to Z and 1 to 10. We need to be able to tell them why they're going from A to Z and 1 to 10 and how they can accentuate some of those movements better. And I think by competing ourselves, it gets us in a better position. As a practitioner, it gives us a better position to relay that information and get people to follow through.
Interestingly enough, you had competed not too long ago in my tournament.
Yes, that's the only one I competed now, last couple of years.
And you know, and it's incredible sometimes when your students see you competing. I think sometimes they don't realize that you're more than just a teacher. Like, you are a practitioner, you are a lifelong martial artist. This is something that you do. I know for my kids, they're blown away if they see me do a demonstration or they see something. They're like, oh, you know. Some of my students, even when they see me fighting, they're like, oh, you know, they're just like blown away. And I'm like, oh boy, if you only knew how good I was 10 years ago, before the knee surgeries, or you know.
I know. I don't tell my kids when I'm going to compete. I just surprise them that day.
Right.
They don't see me rehearse. They don't see me practice or anything. I wait till class is over, they're gone, and I practice on my own. I want it to be a surprise for them.
Right. I know you have a black belt in Tang Soo Do, right? And you are currently actively training in Shorin-Ryu karate, right? And karate, for those that don't know, is like empty hands. So that is the hand-to-hand portion, the foot portion, the kicking, punching, kicking, striking, blocking, etc. Now, also, you hold a third dan or third degree in Kobudo. And so would you mind sharing with my audience what Kobudo is and you know, just kind of a little bit about that system?
Sure. But before I start, I would be negligent if I did not say that the reason why I came to Shorin-Ryu was to study weapons for Kobudo training. And my instructor at the time, Grandmaster Diane P. Jones, was unlike a lot of other martial arts instructors. she allowed me to go to another instructor to learn, to grow. Some instructors, they don't want their students to train with other people because they're afraid they're going to leave or whatever. Master Jones allowed me, Grandmaster Jones allowed me, with her blessing, to go train in Kobudo with Mr. Welch. And I ended up staying there, but I kept my relationship with Master Jones intact, and she and I are in contact to this day. So for that being said, I just want to thank her for jump-starting that journey without any type of discord or anything. Kobudo. Kobudo basically is the training of weapons. And the Okinawans have several weapons. Most of them have their origin from farm implementation, farm use. I teach 7 weapons. The eku or oar, it's like a boat oar. Tonfa, which sort of looks like a old policeman's nightstick. If you can go back into the 60s, if you ever watch some of those old shows. The sai, it's a 3-pronged metal instrument. A kama, which is like a sickle, which you could use to cut rice or wheat. A bow, which is, as I've had people say, a long stick. And nunchaku, which people commonly call nunchucks. We teach those as well. Rule of thumb is a weapon is just an extension of your arm. So basically, many of the techniques that you can do empty hand, you can do with a weapon in them. Your position of your body and your arms and hands will be very similar, is what I meant to say.
You said 7 weapons. I tried to write them down. I only got 6. I had the eku or
Yes.
eku, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tonfa, sai, kama, bow, and nunchuck. Was I missing one?
Did you say bow? Did you just say bow?
I did say bow. Do you also do a bowken, like the shorter bow, or no?
No. Just regular bow. So we have bow,
Okay,
the eku, which is the oar, tonfa, sai, nunchucka, kama, maybe 6. Maybe I messed up.
Okay.
I got 6. That's probably the 7th one. I'll let you know.
Okay. So, how many katas do you have within the Kobudo system?
13.
13 katas.
13. There's a 4 bow, 2 kama, 1 tonfa, 3 sai, and 2 nunchaku, and 1 eku, 1 bow, 1 oar. Excuse me.
So let me, and I'm just asking because I don't know. So like, would the eku and bow katas be similar, or the forms, would they be similar because they're similar kind of weapons?
Some of the strikes would be similar, yes. Some of the strikes would be similar. The weight of the eku is greater than the weight of the bow, so some of the things you're not going to do exactly the same. Some of the swings are going to come up with a different angle because with a bow, you've got the poking of the point and striking down, but you have a wider flat surface on that eku, on that oar, that gives you more of a slicing and dicing type of effect. But a lot of the basic movements are the same. You can see them.
Gotcha. And then with your Kobudo training, I know there's forms and there's movement, right? Moving up and down the mat with the forms. Is there also striking with the weapons as well? Like, are you practicing actual physical striking with the weapons?
Yes, do that more so when we go to camps. I have been blessed to have as my weapons instructor in Shorin-Kan, Ronald Williams Sr. And you've met Ron.
I have.
Wife. Yeah, Ron's is the first North American to be awarded a 7th degree black belt in Kobudo in our system. And he happens to be a black man, but he's the first man of any color to get that level of ranking from our system. So, and I've got him, he lives in Washington, D.C., and he was under Mr. Welch as well. So,
right.
He provides with a lot of instruction.
Okay. And so a student comes to your facility, your place to learn Shorin-Ryu. Do they have the option to just do the Shorin-Ryu portion of it, or is it part of your program where you're doing the Shorin-Ryu, but the Kobudo is extended within that training? Like, that's an expectation.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't call it an expectation in my dojo, but I would explain to parents, unless they have some type of religious or philosophical, issue with their kids handling weapons. I said you're not getting the most bang for your buck. There's a good part of education that your kid is going to, or your student is going to miss out on because you don't have to do it, and which is an attracted to many students and parents. We're one of the organizations that offers separate rank in Kobudo
Right.
and weapons. So yeah, you don't have to study weapons, but you won't get any rank in weapons.
Right.
And most likely, like I said, unless they have something philosophical, you will get exposed to it to some degree, but you just won't study it for rank.
Okay. Now, how does that process work in terms of ranking for the Kobudo versus the Shorin-Ryu? Because I imagine that you start at white belt, whatever the belt system is, right? Every martial arts system every martial arts style, I should say, has their own ranking systems, right? Yeah. So I know within my system, we don't start teaching weapons until you reach the rank of 3rd Q or a green belt in our system. Mm-hmm. So is that something from jump when if I walk into your dojo today and I become a student of yours, do I automatically start training Kobudo day one, or is there a particular rank that I must achieve? Because I know we said that there's a lot of commonality. The weapon is the extension of your body. So I am wondering, is there a fine line of learning? Is there a line that's delineated, whereas you have certain mastery, then you can start utilizing a weapon? Or if it's just day one, we start, just same way you learn how to punch, you learn how to use a weapon.
That's a good question. And Mom, I'm pretty sure you can attest to this, that of all of the Bushikin dojos that you've been to and traveled to, you guys all have the same goals, and your students have to meet the same criteria, but you might get there a little differently. Okay. Right. But within
Absolutely.
What is correct. So I say that because some people who teach Kobudo within the Shorin do it a lot differently than I do. I've seen people, white, yellow belt, learning a bow kata because they do a lot of tournaments and they want them to be able to compete in bows and sparring and empty hand. Right. Okay. Personally, I believe that you have to have a good foundation of the fundamental movements in karate before you pick up a weapon. So if you don't know how to do a forward stance, a side stance, a back stance, horse stance, whatever stance it is, if you don't know how to do a straight punch, you punch it to the center of your body and not off to these angles and stuff.
Right.
You don't need a weapon in your hand, in my opinion. So with that being said, it can vary from person to person. I've had students that caught on really quickly, and at the yellow belt, they might start learning our first bow kata because they can handle it. They picked up everything else they needed to do. I've got students that were intermediates before they started getting weapons because they were struggling with the fundamentals, right. And it's like, well, why would I introduce weapons to you if you're not progressing at the rate you need to progress at in your empty hand kata? So, it depends on the student, but not, I wouldn't white belt, no.
Right. Right. So let me ask this. And again, I'm asking because, 6 weapons is a lot. I think we use 3 in our system. We use 3, and we used to do Sai, and I think we may bring Sai back.
Did I say Sai? That's one of ours too. Did I say Sai?
Yeah, you did say Sai. You did say.
I'm trying to find that 7th weapon.
Well, we do Sai, but our Sai kata and our Tonfa katas are basically the same motion. It's just the same movement, right? It's just a slight variance within the weapon. But with your Sai kata, I'm assuming your Sai kata is significantly different or varies from like your Tonfa kata or
Yes. Our Sai katas, we have 3 Sai katas, and they do 50. Like I said, you'll see some movements that might translate from one to the other, but right. And I want to tell you, there are other weapons that Shorin-Ryu practitioners practice. These are just the ones you would normally get tested on if you were going for belt rank. Right. Another weapon is in my arsenal. I have 2 others that I work on. One is the kiwa, which is a hoe. And
Oh, wait
the
a
other one
minute. Wait, you calling me a hoe?
is not you, man. I said you break back. You know that. I ain't gonna do that. But as a garden hoe, a kua,
Right.
and then a teku, which
Heckle.
looks like almost like brass knuckles, but it's not really. But it's
Mm.
in that family, that general family.
Okay.
Both of those are traditional Okinawan weapons, and I don't teach those to students. Matter of fact, the kiwa, I don't know it. Ron is
Okay.
teaching me to. Sensei Ron is going to teach it to me, and I've only had like 1 or 2 sessions of it. The teku, yeah, I like that.
And so if I was a student in your dojo and I had 6th Q, 7th Q, 8th Q, whatever, I don't know, 4th Q. And I started doing Kobudo. I imagine that the belts don't align, or the ranking does not necessarily align with the belt that may be around their waist. So how do you kind of manage that?
Oh, yeah, for me. Now, some of the other schools, they might, say, okay, when you're testing for an orange belt, you have to have 2 empty hand katas and a Kobudo kata, so they can keep it all. And they have it
Okay, so they'll do it
ingrained to this.
simultaneously.
Yes,
Right.
I don't do that because each student is different. And I look at my primary focus is to prepare them for their empty hand test, for the karate do test.
Right.
A black belt. That is my primary goal. And so I infuse the weapons as their abilities dictate. So I don't award weapons rank or I don't acknowledge weapons proficiency as an underbelt. You just know them. Okay.
Gotcha.
You get your weapons rank from me when you either test for your black belt, because some people will test for Kobudo and Karate Do at the same time, or subsequent to that. But you can't test for me. You can't test for Kobudo black belt rank, and you're not a black belt.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You got to get the empty hand first.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was just trying to figure out. I was like, well, maybe I could rig the system, and I could get my Kobudo black belt from you without getting a black belt.
Well, I've been trying to get one from you for a while, sir. We can do a straight exchange.
A 1-for-1, huh?
It doesn't have to be hard. They do it on professional football and baseball and basketball teams every day. One guy gives the other guy his jersey.
There you go.
Doesn't take much.
There you go. So, Sensei Brian, thank you so much for clearing up a lot about the Kobudo versus the traditional black belts. So, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today was the role that we have as instructors, as senseis, as teachers, the role that we have to our students, like, the impact that we have in the lives of our students, as well as the impact that we have outside of the training environment, right? So, and what I'm trying to say is we're very influential in the lives of our students, both in and out of the training environment. So what has been your experience, or what have you seen to be kind of your impact on some of your students?
Great question. I believe that it is imperative that we as instructors assist our students, especially our youth, our school age students, as much as we can outside of the dojo, making sure that their homework is done, if they're doing their homework. You can't come to my class. You can't practice karate if you're not doing your work, your schoolwork. This is not going to happen. You're not going to be able to practice karate in my dojo if you're disobedient to your parents at home, if they give you things to do. It's not. You can come to class and you're going to do a heck of a lot of exercises, but you're not going to learn any karate moves until all those things are on track. So we become, in my opinion, it's important for us to become another member of that tribe that's trying to get that, to help that kid matriculate. And we do a lot of stuff that parents don't realize when they bring them to us as white belts. By the time they're ready, by the time they turn black belts, we're writing letters of recommendations to colleges.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay? We're trying to help them get scholarships. I know in my dojo, to become a black belt, you have to write a 5-page paper, 5-page single-space paper, topic of my choosing. Okay? And it has to be right. So I want my students to be able to do research. They need to be able to write. They need to be able to formulate their thoughts coherently. Has nothing to do with karate, but it has everything to do with life. And I think
Right.
that is equally as important as teaching somebody how to punch, kick, scream, and scratch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As well as to really understand the importance of self-control, right?
Yes,
Like
sir.
being able to exhibit proper behavior in the community, being a good citizen, all the things that go into it. I know for me, um, a lot of times parents will come to me and say, well, little Susie is not listening, you know, and they kind of just put it in my lap, like, here.
Yeah, I
You
get
know,
that.
and it puts it in perspective to realize how much of an impact you have in that person's life, and also how important the family unit sees you,
Mhm.
you know, in their lives. Because for them to come to you and to bring you an issue that's going on in their house is pretty big, because I don't know about you, but a lot of my families are very private. So for
Yes.
them to really come out and say, hey, I entrust you with this problem that I'm having with little Johnny or little Susie or whoever. Somebody got on me about saying little Johnny and little Susie. They're like, you should use better name. But I don't want to use anybody's names, you know? I don't have any students named Johnny or Susie, just for full disclosure. I just think it is important for us to recognize the role and the impact that we have in the lives of our students, adults as well as children.
Yes, I agree.
Their journey, right? And I know that you run a very successful program, karate program right now, and at one point you had a commercial studio. And so I guess the question is, what are the differences, or what would the pitfalls be if I was an aspiring uh, sensei, that aspiring martial artist that desired to open up a studio? What do you think would be some of the pitfalls, or the pluses and the benefits of either running a studio through a program or running a studio commercially?
Okay, great question. Well, a commercial school, for me, I found the biggest benefit for having a commercial school is that you can have class whenever you want to. If you want to have class 5 days a week, you can do so. 7 days a week, 4 or 5 times a day, you want to. When you're in like at the Boys and Girls Club or at a community center, usually it's going to be, okay, we can give you 2 days a week, and this is your time slot. Okay. And sometimes you might go in and say, you know, we've got a wedding, we got to have a reception, we got to have in the room tonight, so you need to cancel class, or maybe can you have it in this little room that's too small for anything else, but y'all can go in there. That's the downside of being in an environment like that. Now, having a commercial site, like I said, it's great. You can schedule classes, but now you have to have enough students to keep you open. And that can be a problem. If you're in an area where, like I was in, where it was hard for me to not only attract students, but to also retain them long term, every
Right.
month was a harrowing experience for me, as if I'm going to collect enough money to pay the rent without having to dip into my retirement annuity, which I've had to do
Right.
several times, and do it because I want to keep teaching.
Right.
Also, as a new teacher, you have to also understand that there's going to be some times where you're going to have parents that can't pay for whatever
Hmm.
reason. Somebody lost a job, somebody's been sick, whatever the situation is, they're going through a divorce. You have to make a decision there. My position is I let the student come for free, because if they leave,
Right.
I'm not getting paid anyway. And if they really like the karate, I let them come, and plus that keeps their life normal. Okay, so you
Right.
have to have that in mind. Also, and here's something I struggled with. I find, and this is the reason why I went back to my church, teaching at my church, is because I found that the financial situation got to a point that I started to let stuff slip and slide in my grading of students, so that I could
Mm.
keep them in the program, so their parents wouldn't quit, so I wouldn't have to keep pinning my retirement money to keep the door open for the kids that really wanted to work and learn something.
Right. Right.
So I had it was like my integrity was being questioned. I wasn't giving away belts, but they didn't have to work quite as hard. And
Right.
so that's why I decided to go back to where I gave up some of the controls of scheduling, but I didn't have to rely on my client per se to make all my financial obligations complete.
Right, right, yeah. Because if you have a paying customer and they're not happy with something, and you're taking on a business mode, you want to try to look at the customer is right, or I want to try to acquiesce a little bit to help make sure that they're going to stay. But yes, when you're running your program, I think it's essential, regardless of whether you're running a commercial program or a regular just school program, whatever, that the standards that you set are maintained throughout. Like I know I have a commercial studio, not a thriving one. We do okay, but I have a commercial studio. But one of the things I don't do is when I'm on the mat, I'm on the mat, and what I do on the mat is what I do on the mat, and I let them know, like, you're entrusting, this is my child for the hour or the hour and a half that they're on the mat, and this is kind of what it's going to be. And, honestly, I've not really had a whole lot of people that have walked away, but, it's worth it to let that student walk if they're not willing to adhere to what it is that I'm asking them to do, because this is something that I've asked other people to do. So it's not like this is the first person that I'm asking, Yeah.
Marvin, let me just interject for a second. I agree with you 100%. My instructor, Mr. Welch, and I studied with him for several years. His program was real tough. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people left, but a lot of people stayed. And that's why I realized,
absolutely,
if you have your program as your program and be consistent in what you're doing, and those that see the value will stay, and those that don't will leave. Fortunately for him, though, he had a large client base, so he could lose 2 or 3, 4 or 5, and not hurt him much. Some of us, myself included, can't afford to lose 2 or 3, 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 4 or 5 changes the whole scope of everything.
Oh yeah, yeah,
it does. Yes. It does.
So I guess a lot of times, it's a lot easier, I say, to maintain your standards when everything is flowing the way it should.
Yeah. And I'll say, as a person that's running a commercial studio, I've had instances where I'm like, okay, it's just the month that I'm shutting down and I'm packing everything up and moving on, or is this, and for some reason things just tend to come out. And, I think the bigger thing for me is not even the numbers. Every time I feel a little discouraged, something happens, or a kid comes by and something happens that states that appreciation. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going, because obviously what I do matters.
Yeah.
And it just kind of reaffirms that, what, even though I was hard on this kid this day, it made a difference, or they were able to learn how to push through and persevere. And, so that to me made a big difference.
Yeah, but being hard is a lot different than being brutal. And I think kids can appreciate the firmness and the toughness that they get in martial arts, as long as they see it's fair.
Absolutely. I mean, brutality is a completely different thing. I believe in being firm, but I also believe in being loving. Like, this is my studio is a safe space. It's supposed to be a safe space for people to come. I want to hold you lovingly accountable. I want to push you to be a better person, but I don't want to break you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that to me is also very important.
I agree.
If somebody wanted to find you, what is the best route, or how would they go about doing so?
Well, they can go. We have a Facebook page. If you go to Facebook, and then you can do a search on Traditional Shorin-Ryu Karate Club of Raleigh, or you can call me at 919-341-9797. Be sure to leave me a message and I'll return. And then lastly, you can also email me at Bulow, B as in boy, ULOW .sensei@gmail.com. So that's BULOW.sensei, SENSEI@gmail.com. And you can also text message me on that phone number that I gave previously.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sensei Brian.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. You are one of my dear friends. I truly appreciate you. Just on a side note, when I first started teaching, you were one of the few and first people to reach out to me and really befriend me in this community. And I really and truly appreciate that. And I've never forgotten that. And I never will. And, just like your door is always open to me, my door is always open to you. So I look forward to continued opportunities to train together.
May I say one last thing before you go?
Absolutely.
I tell people the mark of a good martial arts instructor is when another martial arts instructor will send their children to him. I've sent my stepson to you. I would send my grandchildren to you when they're old enough. So enough said on that.
Just know the feeling is mutual. If I didn't live so far, Cameron would have been with you a long time ago.
That's my man.
So, hey. Well, thank you again. Thank you all for watching the video. I'm really enjoying the journey of putting this together, this content together on topics that I am truly passionate about. I hope that you're enjoying the show, and if you do enjoy what I am putting out, I hope that you would consider just showing your support to me by giving this video a like, subscribing to the page, and also by leaving us a comment. Again, thank you, and os.